How is it rocking, Dween Nation? Stay here because we are just about to get underway. In the meantime, please like, comment, and subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. We put out weekly sports content, and we want to continue to build up Dween Nation and the brand that is Dween Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy. Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Pies, alongside Genoa Agudelo, and we are back to discuss the waiver wire for Week 6. I can't believe 5 weeks are in the books already. Week 5 presented the first week of bye weeks. This week we get 4 more teams. We got the Chiefs, the Rams, the Dolphins, and the Vikings. So that's Justin Jefferson, Devon Achane, Patrick Mahomes, Kyron Williams, some really big names that won't be in lineups this week. And we're going to tell you guys that you should plug and play, or guys that you might need to just stash and hold on to for the future bye weeks coming up. But before we do that, Genoa, how you feeling, man?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, I'm doing so good, man. What a great Week 5 it was. We had, an early house call there with the London football game, which was pretty enjoyable to watch there. We're seeing an up-and-coming dominant defense there and with Minnesota. And so it was a great weekend there, Justin. And I'm excited to, kind of carve our way a little bit through Week 6 there and kind of discuss, what to do for these buys.
Yeah, and the most fun thing, Dween Nation, about Week 6 is not only will you see our faces, I mean, this episode you'll see just us two, but we also got some guests rolling in to help Dween Nation out in takeaways and outlooks for the rest of the fantasy football season. But let's dive into these waivers because we got 4 names, each of us. I'm going to start us off. I have a running back who is the RB1 on the week for Week 5. He had a phenomenal performance against a bad defense for sure, but the more important thing was he was out touching his fellow running back, and I'm talking about Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, the Jaguars get their first W of the season against the Colts. Tank Bigsby, has a huge game, 30-point, bonanza, one really long touchdown. He just looked a lot better than Travis Etienne. Obviously, the first half, it was kind of Etienne focused. Etienne was getting a lot of drop-offs and everything like that. But Bigsby, when he came in, he showed more explosiveness. And I wouldn't have thought that looking at it even from, heading into this year, because Tank Bigsby had one of the worst efficiency scores out of any running back in 2023. And Etienne's kind of the guy known for being that, long break runner. But this year has been a lot different. And Tank Bigsby has actually outproduced Etienne in efficiency 3 of the 5 weeks this season. And he's a prime pickup, only owned in 9.5% of leagues. I think he's by far the must-add of the week.
Yeah, Justin, when you look at Tank Bigsby for the Jaguars, I feel like they're going to start using him in that offense. Going into yesterday, we were wondering, we both knew that the Jags were going to win. But the question was, how were they going to win and which weapons they were going to utilize? The issue they've had all season was utilizing their weapons. Even Travis Etienne has kind of struggled there. Even as a fantasy star, he hasn't really been what we expected and hoped he'd be. But looking at, yesterday's game, Bigsby did lead the whole team in yards there. And so you might, have to believe that they might start implementing him little by little. He is a power back, and he's going to be getting goal line touches now, I believe. So definitely Travis Etienne owners, definitely beware there because Tank Bigsby, his ownership is going to go up there. For me at the running back, I'm going to go with another running back that had a pretty good, finish to the week, and it's Tyrone Tracy there. And I really love Tyrone Tracy there. Going into this year, I think he was definitely a sneaky kind of guy that you can stash there in all dynasty leagues. Looking at what the Giants did during the free agency, they lost Saquon Barkley, so definitely a ton of volume available there. They get Devin Singletary, who he had a heavy workload there last year with my beloved Texans. And you just know with Devin Singletary, he has injury issues. Devin Singletary has been in the league for some time. He is 27. He's taken a lot of beating there, I think, Justin, in my opinion. And so you just kind of know that Tyrone Tracy was kind of that guy on the scene. They drafted him this past draft, 5th round pick from Purdue. He just looks the size there, 5'11", kind of big guy there, 210. And you know what, Justin? I think he is their back of the future now in New York. And you know what? I'm going to go and say it. Go ahead and say it. He is a flex starter this upcoming week, home with the Bengals. I think Derrick Henry, even though he is Derrick Henry, he did just shred the Bengals. But I still like Tyrone Tracy to kind of be that this upcoming week and the next kind of guy to shred the Bengals there, even if Singletary plays.
No, I think what the Giants saw out of this week, obviously Singletary out injured, but through Singletary's career, he has a cap. He's not your star workhorse back. It's kind of been viewed that way since he's been in the league, which is fine. I think he's going to be a solid role player. He's probably in the future will be one of the best backup running backs a team would want. But Tyrone Tracy offers something that the Giants are searching for sure, and they got it. And he was a late draft pick this year as a rookie, but he got his opportunity, and he paid it with it. 18 carries, 129 yards, a very good game from him. They play Cincinnati, as you mentioned, next week, so I think he's already into lineups next week. If Singletary returns, obviously there's a damper on it, but I think that the Giants realize something that, hey, we're going to play the Bengals. The Bengals offense is on fire right now. Why do we need to score fast and, put our defense on the field to just have Cincinnati score on them? Let's run the ball, keep the ball away from Joe Burrow, and let's do that by giving it to Tyrone Tracy. So I think it's a good pick there. Moving to my next pick, he is owned in 45% of leagues, and obviously he torched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. I'm talking about Kirk Cousins, who led a game-winning drive to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he put up 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Had a phenomenal game, a career-like game. Primetime Kirk has rearranged himself. Now he actually had a good game in primetime. But I think it's interesting. The Falcons have had one possession games on every game this season. And so I think that's kind of going to be their story all year. They're going to be in close games. Some they'll lose, some they'll win, but it all will equal that Atlanta will be throwing the football. And I think obviously as the season continues to progress, they're going to that offense is going to look more and more like it did on Thursday night. And why not just get in early on it as you can? Obviously, he's owned in 45% of leagues already. But as bye weeks are rolling in, it's perfect time to have Kirk on your team. He plays the Panthers next week. So if you have, Mahomes or, Sam Darnold you were able to pick up, why not, throw this guy in your lineup? He plays Seattle the week after, then Tampa, who he just put up, 500 yards on. So Kirk Cousins in an offense that's continuing to grow is a great pickup.
Yeah, Justin, Kirk Cousins, it didn't really even seem like he was throwing for 500 yards there, Justin. I thought he was barely hitting like 320, but apparently he did. And so kind of wish more yards of that 500 went to Bijan Robinson, but, I'm just going to get over it. But, Kirk Cousins is a guy that you might have to just be starting week in and week out now. Justin, there's some concerns with like Patrick Mahomes if he struggles, later tonight, or in this upcoming couple weeks, there might be the kind of call for Kirk Cousins to start in fantasy. Josh Allen has also been kind of struggling after his hot start there, Justin. And even like CJ Stroud, just a little bit, just been struggling. Maybe you can kind of throw in Kirk Cousins on matchup basis there and see, if he can replicate that. Maybe he could get 400 yards, maybe not 500, but 350 and a couple scores there. Hopefully they can get Bijan there in the passing game. Kyle Pitts has been on and off, but Mooney has been a guy that's been helping Kirk Cousins there. And so Drake London had a great game. And so definitely like that there. Justin, I have a 1-2 punch at quarterback there for my waivers. My first one, it depends on the health of Anthony Richardson. And so I guess you know where I'm going here. And that's Joe Flacco. He is owned, obviously, in 5.5% of leagues. That's actually kind of crazy. He is owned, being that he is a backup and no one really expected AR to be hurt. And he's not, AR is not out for the season. He was just pretty much weekly. But, however, if AR were to miss next week, I kind of do like their matchup, Justin. Next week, let me see. It is at Tennessee. And I like Flacco to go out there and, wheel it and deal it out there. Alec Pierce is becoming a star. And, Joshua Downs gets his. And Michael Pittman scored a touchdown yesterday. So those are 3 pretty good receivers that Flacco can throw to, as well as Mo Alley Cox there, the tight end. He also, I believe, scored a touchdown. And so, Flacco, wherever he goes, last year we saw this with Amari Cooper. He's just going to be able to get you 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He even worked well last year with David Njoku and helped him become the star. Now Njoku's kind of struggling with Watson. So, Flacco is that guy. And also another quarterback that I was thinking, Flacco, stays as the second, string quarterback. AR comes back. I would say Bo Nix is a guy to look out there. I do think that his matchup next week is a little shaky. I'm not saying to start him yet. But Justin, he had 27 fantasy points in our league there, in one of our main leagues, and I kind of like him going forward. He kind of poses a threat as a rushing quarterback, so to speak. He did have 2 touchdowns there passing. He does get the Saints in a couple weeks, which I think that could be a kind of a shootout there with Sean Payton returning home. And they do get Carolina a week after. So I do like Bo Nix, as a guy to stream. We do have Mahomes going on a bye there in the next couple weeks. Let's see. I do believe we kind of get, if guys are starting, excuse me. I think, the Lions already had their bye, excuse me. And I'm looking at Dallas and Chicago. If you have Caleb Williams or Dak, I would say maybe a guy like Bo Nix is a guy to put in. So those are my 2 quarterbacks I'm looking at there for waivers this week.
No, I think both are interesting kind of plays. Obviously, Joe Flacco, to me, if he is the starter, is like the prime pickup. I'm starting to think more and more that AR will be back next week, but if not, Flacco is a great play. I mean, that ball, he throws the ball. I mean, I had Trey Sermon this week, who ended up having a good game with that touchdown late in the game. But they weren't running the ball at all. It was all passes. Most of Trey Sermon's points, besides a 1-yard touchdown run, were receptions. So the Colts want to throw the ball when Joe Flacco's in the lineup. So if he is, I honestly think he's a top 10 quarterback play if Flacco starts. For Bo Nix's talk, obviously he had his first good fantasy day of the season against the Raiders, and to me that's a really interesting sign for things to continue to ramp up for him. As you mentioned, they play the Saints and the Panthers in the 2 of the next 3 weeks. Those are 2 good matchups, I think, that he could not exploit, but he could have another solid game. I think Nix, unlike Joe Flacco, has kind of a ceiling right now that's kind of capped at the roof, where he's not going for 35 points. He's not going for 350 and 3 touchdowns, but he could be a really a stable piece for you, maybe a 250 and 2, or 275 and 3, like that. That's the kind of numbers that Bo Nix, that's kind of his ceiling for me. But I think it's a good pick if you need a quarterback this week. Moving to the next one, you mentioned him. You spoiler alerted it. I have Alec Pierce as my wide receiver pickup this week. He kind of reminds me of a Shaheed type of player, where he is going to be boom bust. To me, that's kind of clear. He's going to be a boom bust player. There will be weeks where he has 2 catches for 30 yards, or what week 3 and 4 looked like, where he had 1 catch 44 yards, 1 catch 9 yards. But then you look at weeks 1, 2, and 5, he had boom games because they hit him on those deep routes, and that'll be the game you can play. You don't want to be a coward in fantasy football. You want to have players in your lineup that you think could win you your week. And Alec Pierce has shown that he can, having those monster top 5 wide receiver performances. This week they play Tennessee, then they play Miami, then they play Houston. So he's got a stretch of 3 games with prime matchups, and especially if Joe Flacco starts, I'm excited. But I'm also still excited if AR is back, unlike how I would be with Pittman and Josh Downs, because AR loves to throw it deep, and he doesn't love those intermingling passes like where Pittman and Josh Downs work. But Pierce, to me, works with both Flacco and AR.
Yeah, Justin, that is a great, waiver wire pickup if you were to get Alec Pierce there. You mentioned you're not worried if he plays with Flacco or AR, and you know what? When he played with AR week 1, AR played a full game against my Texans. He had 3 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, that touchdown went for 60 yards. A little guy, Alec Pierce, there, catching bombs, and you know what? He is a guy that, I feel more confident about starting him than I would Michael Pittman. And this is a guy that they're going to have to rely, to win games there. He brought them back. I mean, this is a guy that was able to. I think he scored two. He scored one touchdown, but he had two big time catches in this game that to kind of bring him back there because the Jags were up, I would believe, at 23-7, something like that, and kind of forced overtime at the end there. And so, definitely like Alec Pierce there. I think that him and Flacco work well together, and so, Flacco shows up in a couple games, this season that Pierce is a guy to start. For me, this is going to be a guy that's going to be temporary, a start there, and that's Jordan Whittington. My guy out of the University of Texas, my fellow Longhorn there. He's a guy that we might not see too much, since Puka and Cooper Kupp are kind of coming back around the corner. But he is a guy that, I'm very familiar with. And, obviously, I do believe that the Rams have a bye week this upcoming week, Justin. And I think maybe by, that following week they come back. They play home against the Raiders. And look, I don't think Cooper Kupp and Puka are going to be back by that week. So I feel like this is going to be a week that Stafford is going to need his A game on. So this is a guy to stash. I feel like in this kind of couple weeks, guys are being dropped, and sometimes there's spots open. It's not like the first couple weeks where you don't want to drop anybody. But this is a time of year where you're willing to have a little bit of a spot open. This guy Whittington, he has a good couple matchups there. And Puka, we're not sure if he's going to be back by week 10. Cooper Kupp has gotten hurt every year since his historical season. So this is a guy that Stafford's going to rely on there. They have the Raiders out of the bye week, and then they go to the Vikings, which, the Vikings are tough. That is a primetime game. They go to Seattle. There's a game there against Miami. And so those are the couple games there. By then, I do think Puka should be back and Cooper Kupp. But, Justin, it's very uncertain. The Rams are struggling. And Stafford and the Rams are going to need to get a W right after the bye. It's going to need to get to Oakland, and that provides Stafford to have a big time game there. And I think Whittington's going to be the guy to kind of lead the Rams there. If Puka or Cooper are not back yet, that's the guy that's going to be getting the main shine there in LA until those top stars get back.
So, I agree with you on one part of it, and I disagree with you on another part of it. So I do think Whittington is a solid play. Now, obviously, you can't start him this week, so I think nobody's thinking about him, so you don't even need to jump on him this week, unless you want to be early. Unless you want to be early on it, which is fine, and you have the space for it. But heading into next week, there is a chance that Cooper Kupp returns, and honestly, in my opinion, I think that helps Jordan Whittington's his value because Cooper Kupp will be getting the looks from the cornerbacks. He will be getting the attraction and the attention, and that will leave Jordan Whittington to have more of a opportunity to me. Instead of right now, he is the number one wide receiver with the Rams. He's getting that coverage that a wide receiver one should be getting, which he's not there yet. He's only a rookie, mid to late round pick, correct? Now with Puka, I don't expect Puka to be back till like around week 10, so I don't see him as too much of a threat. But yes, I agree that Whittington is a temporary piece. He's only going to last you about 3 to 4 weeks max. But in the meantime, I do think he will be a solid flex player for those weeks. But yes, he is not available for you this week. He is on a bye. But if you want to be really ahead of the game and be proactive, scoop him up. Why not? Moving to our defensive streamers of the week, I just looked and we have two defenses that are playing against each other. So I have the Denver Broncos playing the Chargers. Obviously, the Chargers coming off a bye week. The Broncos coming off a game where they dominated the Raiders and they put up 18 fantasy points, had a top 5 fantasy defense day. Now they go against a team that will be better on offense, sure, but they are home. The Broncos are, and in my gut, knowing what a high ankle sprain is, Justin Herbert is still going to be dealing with this ankle sprain in this game. I believe he will play. And so he will not be a mobile quarterback. And this offense for the Chargers is still a team that is undermanned, and they haven't hit their potential. And so I think the Broncos are in play to kind of continue that this stretch that they've shown to be a really solid defense. And I think they're a prime play, and they're still not owned in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, Justin, I kind of I understand, to be honest, why we put the others defense, and I feel like this is going to be a very low scoring game. The Chargers are going to come out of their bye; they're going to be very physical. But as well as this Broncos, Timo Raw have been one of the surprises of this year's. Uh, they're one of those teams that I wouldn't say give the Chiefs a run for their money, but they could be a possible winner of the division just because of all the holes that the Chiefs have on offense, the injuries that they're dealing with, how Patrick Mahomes is struggling. So they're kind of like the ultimate dark horse. I mean, they're the ultimate dark horse to win that division. Looking at their record, I mean, Justin, they have won a couple games in a row there. Obviously, they beat the Raiders yesterday, who are turning dysfunctional little by little. But Justin, they're still a team that they're going to split the series against the Chargers, and they might beat the Raiders again, and who knows? Maybe they could beat the Chiefs one out of the two matchups there. They have a tough defense. Bo Nix is upcoming. We mentioned the couple games that they have in the next couple weeks, and so Denver is tough, but so is the Chargers. And so I kind of like both defenses, not only for this week, Justin, but for the rest of the season.
Yeah, yeah. So I completely agree. We got two defenses playing against each other, so that kind of details to you guys that it's going to be a low-scoring affair. So if you have people on the offenses, kind of downgrade them a little. I know in one of my leagues I have to start JK next week, but you got to do what you got to do. But yes, Dween Nation, thank you for listening to the Waivers episode. We're going to be back with more and more content looking towards Week 6. So stay tuned, and Jano, send us out.
Yo, Dween Nation, this was our Waiver Wire pickups up the week. Here at Doing Sports, Justin and I, we love to put all the focus as much as we can on fantasy. That is our baby, that is our bread and butter, as well as all other sports. But Justin and I just love to just talk about, we can be here all day, but thank you guys for watching. We love you guys. Check us out. We have some guests joining us here at Doing Sports, so check us out. Show some love, and as always, peace.